we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who want it until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
Violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the insurrection. I'm Michael Lauber, and today Derek Evans is either on vacation or out there, waiting for his sex change so he can be his true self. And filling in for him, I have Noel Fritsch from National File. How you doing this morning, Noel?
I'm great. I hope Trump banned those. I think not only should the sex change operations be banned for kids, Mike, they should be banned for everybody. There, under no circumstances should it be legal for you to walk in and have a doctor just excise your eye or, take a scalpel to your liver and just say, hey, he's done with this. This stuff's absurd. We just got to ban it entirely.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Under any other circumstances, if somebody wanted to go in and have a functioning body part removed, you'd at the very least be doing a mental wellness check on them to make sure they hadn't completely lost their mind.
Yeah, that's right. And it used to be, if anybody's read the book Catch-22, the phrase, is popularized by the book because in war, when you used to say I have mental issues and so therefore I want to get out of war, this crazy thing where we're just going and bombing all these people all over the planet, with modern munitions, they would tell you, hey, that means you're too smart you're not crazy. If you're smart enough and rational enough to say, hey, I don't want to go do this, that means you can't leave. So therefore you have to stay in. That is the phrase of Catch-22. That's the origin of the phrase. And so now in the military, you tell them, hey, guys, I need a wienerectomy and I need lifetime care from TRICARE and from the Center for Healthcare Services inside of TRICARE at the DOD in the Pentagon. And they're like, sign them up. It's insane.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Well, speaking of mental illness, I know one of the things we want to focus on today is Lindsey Graham. And I think it's about time to go rhino hunting, and you're leading the charge.
What a transition from trannies and homos to Lindsey Graham. Oh, there's no transition there. Sorry.
Yeah, speaking of transitions, yes, we have Lindsey Graham, who, critics call me Lindsey Grahamnesty and Lindsey Gomez. I know I call him Lindsey Grahamnesty all the time. It's not really a term of endearment. I think this rhino needs the boot, just like everybody else in Congress. And you're leading the way right now to run this rhino out of town.
Yeah, Mike, and thanks for bringing me on to discuss this. And full disclosure, I am working with my good buddy Mark Lynch, and we are going to remove Lindsey Lady G Grahamnesty Graham from the United States Senate. Lindsey's like a really bad mole that you just have to cut off, and it's a cancerous mole, and it's in the way, and it might kill you. It's do damage. You got to just cut it off. So Mark Lynch has announced his run. He has filed with the FEC. He is official down in South Carolina. He's a very successful businessman, is Mark Lynch. He has a huge department store is really what it is. They sell all kinds of stuff, furniture and appliances up in the upstate of South Carolina, which is a pretty well-to-do area.
Yeah.
Two counties up there, Greenville County and Spartanburg County, account for about a sixth, 1/6 fully of South Carolina's entire population. And so that's where he's from. It's also where Lady G is from. Lindsey is from the upstate and man, they don't like him. The upstate of South Carolina hates Lindsey Graham. And so as a result, Lindsey Graham hangs out in two places predominantly, Washington, D.C. and down where a lot of the, alternative lifestyle folks live down in Charleston. Charleston's got like a little bit of an Atlanta vibe to it, like a San Francisco vibe to it, if you're catching my drift here. Lindsey G loves it down there, kind of like DuPont Circle in D.C., where I imagine Lindsey G probably spends a good bit of time as well.
Yeah, with his various gentleman callers. Let me, go ahead and pull this tweet up from Mark Lynch. Lindsey Graham says he wants U.S. soldiers, boots on the ground in Ukraine in NATO. Right when Trump has peace breaking out all over the world, Lindsey Graham is begging for World War III. Now is the time to dump Lindsey. Well, I couldn't agree more. Well, actually, no. Actually, I think the time to dump Lindsey Graham was like 20 years ago. Yep. But he's still on the right path.
Yeah, right. Well, Lindsey's been there for 30 years, and there just hasn't been, a point in time ever where there's been that political will to really boot the guy. And so now is the time to dump Lindsey. It's crazy, Mike. Here we are. We're barely, 30 days into this new administration here with President number 47 here, Donald Trump. 30 days in, and Lindsey wastes no time at all, literally fighting President Trump on all of his hallmark initiative platform items. And so, President Trump wants to, have world peace. Lindsey Graham's up there fighting against him. President Trump wants to cut taxes. Lindsey Graham is literally leading the charge, filing the bill in the Senate, to stop it. And then Lindsey, Donald Trump wants to cut all the waste and fraud and abuse at USAID. I think 2 months ago, Lindsey voted to fund USAID. And of course, his IRI has been a big recipient of it. We're going to go through each of those. Literally across the board, Lindsey is opposed to the Donald Trump America First MAGA agenda.
Well, and as you said, this has been a clear path for Lindsey since the beginning. He pretends to be a conservative. Every once in a while, he'll vote for some conservative bill or another. He'll throw his support behind it. But by and large, he's just nothing more but nothing besides a tool for the deep state to further their agenda to sabotage conservatives. I remember after his good buddy John McCain passed away. After McCain assumed room temperature, it was like Lindsey Graham got a software update for a few weeks. All of a sudden, he was a conservative. And then, of course, a few, maybe 2 months go by, and all of a sudden, he's right back to his normal position of pretending to be conservative while sabotaging the agenda. And, that's why he's a media darling, and that's why he'll continue to be their go-to person against Donald Trump, because he does it with a smile on. He stabs us in the back while smiling.
That's right. Yeah, he is always flip-flopping. He's back and forth every which direction, and so he just has a long track record of always working against President Trump. You got to remember he ran for the presidential nomination in 2016, and there are some crazy quotes. If I can do a couple of impersonations, Mike, well, if you'll indulge me, I'd be happy to walk the audience through some of those quotes. He was on stage, I think, talking, like you said, he's a darling of the leftist media. He's on with CNN, I believe, at one point in time. And he adopts literally the BLM leftist Democrat commie talkers and approach. And he says, Trump isn't nothing but a race baiting bigot. He is it's on race. It's unbelievable. Race baiting bigot, I think, is the phrase that he used. And he's like a little bit effeminate, of course, with the way he talks and everything. And CNN eats it up. They love when a Republican goes on CNN and calls, President Donald Trump a race baiting bigot or whatever. Okay. And so, I mean, the numbers of instances of these kinds of comments from Lindsey Graham are just endless. It literally never ends, Mike. I mean, once you start digging on Lindsey Graham, you just keep on going. The whole just keeps on going. So, It's ridiculous. And just I got to say this, just like in the last week or two, all of these issues have literally been at the top of the media. Like the national media is talking all about the new budget. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Lindsey Graham is the sole sponsor on the Senate bill that got passed late last night. Like I mean, last week, like Thursday night, Friday night. It was in the middle of the night. They passed this thing.
Sure.
It has no tax cuts. This big old budget bill, and it funds the Ukraine war for 10 more years. John Thune, okay, who is Mitch's little lapdog, is pushing this thing through the Senate. All of your worst Republicans voted for it. I think all the Republicans voted for it. The thing passed the Senate, Mike, and it has no tax cuts. And Trump, meanwhile, is saying, hey, guys, we need one bill because if we're going to go the reconciliation route, which is the 50 votes instead of the 60 that the filibuster obviates, then we need to get one of these because they're not going to do two reconciliations is the point. People aren't really talking about that. That's the key, Mike. Remember like back in Obamacare when they had the reconciliation bill to like screw over America with Obamacare? So they don't do reconciliation bills often because usually they're trying to avoid votes. And usually they use that filibuster and say well, we need 60 votes, so we can't really get it done. See, you have to understand these people are supremely dishonest. They don't care about 50 votes or 60 votes. And by the way, Fox News doesn't care about the filibuster.
No.
The reason they shoved Manchin in West Virginia and Sinema and Tulsi, by the way, down your throats is because they really like to have these moderate Democrats protect their filibuster.
Yes.
Okay. So-called moderates, but they're not so-called. They're not moderate. The filibuster is not moderate. It enables, guys, this endless war spending. Is that moderate? No, that's extreme. So that's what the filibuster enables. And so I know we're down a little bit of a rabbit hole here, but it's very important and it's pertinent and germane to the topic here with this budget discussion.
Yeah.
They're going to ram the thing down your throat. And then after they ram it down your throat, just like they did Obamacare, you know what they're going to say? Well, we can't get those tax cuts because now we need 60 votes. Mark my words. Write it down. This is how we got to start beating back on this filibuster idea. I would rather have every vote be a 50 vote threshold. Because then they actually have to, they got to stand on their own 2 feet. They got to, hang on that rope. Okay. If they decide that's what they want to do. All right. And with this spending bill, it's really important that they use the House bill. Trump called for it publicly, said, I want one big, beautiful spending bill for reconciliation with the spending cuts and the tax cuts. Well, I mean, Lindsey's putting the House in a really bad spot. Now they're going to have to, pass their own bill. And he's potentially putting Donald Trump in a really bad spot. Maybe having to pass a bill that funds Ukraine for 10 more years and doesn't have tax cuts. Lindsey Graham is an enemy of the people. Well, in my opinion, he's a traitor.
Well, I mean, really, this is the time where the House should pass their bill. And if they can't come to an agreement, push that through, since that's what the American people and the Trump administration want, are these cuts, the tax cuts, the spending cuts, eliminating money going to USAID and other places. And if they won't if the Senate refuses to pass it, just shut the government down and make it known this time we're not going to do back pay for all these government drones. We'll do back pay for the military whenever things are settled. But otherwise, just shut it all down. It's not like they're doing anything productive anyway. These last month has basically proven that.
It's been about a decade since we've even really talked seriously about a government shutdown. There's been a couple of grumblings about it recently.
Yeah, short-term ones.
Absolutely, we need a shutdown. And guys, when this government shuts down, guess what's going to happen? The troops are going to get paid, the veterans are going to get paid, and Social Security is going to get paid. The government shutdown is not going to stop those 3 key functions, okay? And so let's shut it all down. And that's kind of what DOGE is trying to get after, right? They're really going after like everything else that's not, what's the word that they tried to roll out on us during COVID? What's the word? Essential. Yes. Essential, non-essential spending. Cut it all. Cut it all. Shut it down.
I mean, that's something else that's been brought up over and over again is all these government employees that were deemed non-essential that were sent home. Why the hell did we ever bring them back anyway? Let's go ahead and go to your next slide here, though. Breaking. Did you know that Senator Lindsey Graham, who defends U.S. aid funding, is also director of the International Republican Institute? This organization received $130 million from USAID. So
Yeah.
what's this all about?
And guess what? Guess what they do? Guess what they do? One guess. What do you think the IRI does there, Mike?
Well, if Lindsey Graham's involved, I'm sure it's somehow aligned with the trans agenda.
Yeah, that's a good guess. That's a really good guess. It probably does. And you know what? They always have multiple objectives. So you know what they probably do is they probably take all of the war material and they put guns to everybody's heads and they say, "Hey, you must accept homosex as a norm." I think that's probably a lot of what they do, and they make money
somewhere
doing
in their
it. They get to
that's
sell
somewhere in their
war
bylaws.
ammunition.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. I mean, that's the obvious answer with Lindsey Graham is it's about keeping his buddies at Raytheon and Lockheed Martin and General Dynamics fat and happy.
Exactly. That's exactly correct. The military-industrial complex is not happy with Donald Trump because of all this USAID stuff. Okay, USAID is like basically a cutout for the CIA.
Yes,
and they're operating, with all of the embassies in all of the countries, and they're pushing all of this nonsense. It's been all over the internet and the Twitter and the X here for the last couple of weeks. And Lindsey piped up a little bit. And he says, I think his words were, "Well, maybe we do need to take another look at that." That's the same words that Paul Ryan used when we, beat the TPP out of him back in 2016. This is what they say. When a guy who's committed to a cause says, maybe we ought to take a second look at it, all that means is I'm in a little bit of political hot water and I'm going to voice a little bit of trepidation here. That's all that means.
Maybe I'll allow for
the guy just funded. He just voted to fund it. He just voted to fund it, Mike. 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's signaling. Maybe I'll allow for, say, a 10% cut. I got to do something. I got to look like I care about the waste, fraud, and abuse. So I'll allow a small cut, but I'm not going to let this gravy train get cut off just yet.
That is correct.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is what we've seen out of these people for far too long. And that's why, again, it's time for Lindsey Graham and most of the rest of these rhinos to go. I'm tired of dealing with these undocumented Democrats that stab us in the back every chance they get. And we're just supposed to go along with it, whether it's the budget, endless wars, or any other funding of the left. It's, drag shows in Uganda. They're all about it. And, Lindsey's no different. And Trump's called him out on this a few times. President Trump goes off on Lindsey Graham in a series of scathing Truth Social posts. This has kind of been the interesting back and forth dynamic. I think you got a slide here, too, about when Graham spoke at the Trump rally. Let me see if I got that up here next. Yeah, I'll go ahead and pull this, too. We'll just join these two stories. Lindsey Graham booed at Trump rally in his home state. And like you said, even his own constituency doesn't like him. They don't like the things he do. It's almost like they're stuck with him, like some of these other rhinos. Is that kind of what the case has been here? There hasn't been anybody strong enough to stand against Lindsey Graham until now?
Yeah, in 2020, there was a weak candidate. Nobody super strong. Maybe got baseline spending no dollars in South Carolina. You're going to get like maybe 20 or 25% of the vote, like that are just get rid of this guy, and that's without spending the first dime. Back in 2014, Nancy Mace, people forget, was actually in the race against Lindsey in 2014.
Yep.
She raised a couple of bucks. She made a little bit of noise. There was a really good conservative senator called Lee Bright that ran, and he raised some money, maybe just shy of $1 million, but that's not quite enough, especially in a crowded field, right? It's looking like this cycle, there's not going to be a crowded field. So Mark should be pretty good Mark Lynch in this field. But look, has been for a long time a major appetite to get rid of Lindsey Graham. And you got to remember, all the way back in 2014 was when they were pushing the Grahamnesty. That's how he got that. That's his namesake. Yes. Grahamnesty, amnesty. Him and Cantor on the Gang of Eight in the Senate, and then Cantor and Boehner in the House side were pushing for amnesty. And that's how you got Dave Brat. Remember, Dave Brat was elected with almost no dollars against $5 or $8 or $10 million for Eric Cantor, whatever the number was. It was like that. It was at least like 15 or 20 to 1. It might have been more cash that Cantor outspent Brat by. And I remember the date. It was a big day, June the 10th, because they always schedule these votes for right up against some election like this, Mike. That's one of the tricks that they use because they control the calendar.
Yes.
And They thought they were going to get a win with Cantor, and then the next day passed amnesty on June 11 of 2014. Cantor loses and amnesty dies. Now, a funny part of the story, Mike, right after that, Graham won his primary. Lindsey goes to the press. You're not going to believe this. And he says, well, that just goes to show you can win an election in South Carolina even while you're pushing amnesty. That's what Lindsey Graham said to the media after he won. I'm not making this up, Mike. This you can go.
Oh no, I believe you.
About it.
Your impersonation is almost spot on too, which is what makes it even better.
Thanks for that.
All right, we do have to take a quick break, come back, and then I know we got just a few more things to talk about regarding Lindsey Graham, and then we got some other stories to get into. So hang with us. We'll be right back with even more.
Play your trump card and support Make America Great Again with the Donor Deck. Get your hands on 52 exquisite playing cards, each with powerful quotes from scripture and stunning artwork. Plus, showcase your MAGA pride with a beautiful display case and a reversible challenge coin. By purchasing the Donor Deck, you become an official donor, contributing to our cause and helping President Trump reclaim the White House. Get your Donor Deck today and play your part in making America great again.
Go to the Patriot.tv store and get your Donor Deck now.
Attention business owners and entrepreneurs, Patriot TV is launching a brand new TV series showcasing American-made products, and your business could be featured. Whether you sell your products online on Etsy or Shopify and dream of reaching millions of viewers on smart TVs like Samsung, Sony, TCL, and LG, or apps like Roku, Android, and Apple TV, this is your chance. We're searching for US-based businesses offering all types of products and services proudly made in the USA. If you've ever wanted to showcase your products on TV like QVC or the Home Shopping Network, now's your opportunity. Support our American economy, grow your business, and be seen by loyal Patriot viewers across the country. Know someone with a business or have a business yourself? Don't miss out. Contact us at supportingpatriots.com today. Be a guest on this new exciting TV series. Let's put your American-made products in the spotlight.
What do a neurosurgeon, a country artist, and a television and radio host have in common? They all saw the writing on the wall. Big banks sharing your financial information with big government. Join them as owners in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank that protects your privacy, security, and liberty. Invest today at own.oldglorybank.com.
Thank you for staying with us. And again, the best way to support our program and all the programs here on Patriot TV is by supporting our sponsors. You can do that by going to patriot.tv, selecting the insurrection, and then say opening an account with Old Glory Bank. Get away from these big monster mega banks that hate you. Again, we just covered another story on them on Friday on Bank of America. It's time to set ourselves aside and get into our own financial system and away from these people that hate us and hate our values. We got one more story to get to regarding my favorite Lindsey Grahamnesty. And a tweet here from our own Derek Evans. Lindsey Graham to Zelensky, you're the ally I've been hoping for all my life. Wow, if that isn't a pledge of his love, I don't know what else is. I'm very proud to have you as our ally. Lindsey Graham is a Rhino POS who is going to face a legit primary challenger from Mark Lynch. And, again, Derek's exactly right. This Lindsey Graham's been a thorn in our side for decades now, and it's time to extract this cancer and find somebody that'll actually support the America First agenda.
So it's funny that Derek uses that acronym POS. So just this weekend, Mark Lynch and team and I were up in Washington, D.C. At CPAC, Mike, and now I'm in fact, at the next break, I'm going to try to grab my hat. We had some hats that we just had printed up last minute before we went up there that say "Dump Lindsey." Almost invariably, everybody knew exactly what the hat "Dump Lindsey" was referring to. Not only that, Mike, and I'm not going to say what the acronym stands for, but I will say a curious percentage of individuals who were giving us fist bumps and high fives and thumbs up and stopping us to congratulate us and slap our backs and meet Mark, the candidate Mark Lynch. Every single time, Mike, they say Lindsey Graham is a POS, except they did not say POS.
Exactly.
Every single person, almost every single person, Mike, like the POS now literally in the Webster Dictionary should probably just, be next to a picture of Lindsey Graham. It was unbelievable. That's like the universal phrase used as a moniker for Lady G, Lindsay, Little Miss Lindsay, as we call them.
I think I'm going to start calling him Lady G. I like that. But well, you're exactly right. And that should be, if all you have to do is say dump Lindsay and everybody knows exactly who you're talking about, then this is clearly somebody that needs to go. They're not in tune with where the movement is now. They're not in tune with where most conservatives and the Republican Party are headed. This guy's been a thorn in our side for decades, and it's time for him to go. Yeah.
So, over on the website, lynch4senate.com. It's not there now. You guys can all go donate and sign up. But I'm going to have up on the website will be a spot where you can reserve your Dump Lindsay hat. We're going to have Dump Lindsay hats going out nationwide because, again, as soon as President Trump got inaugurated, this guy went to work undermining President Trump's MAGA agenda, undermining President Trump's America First agenda. Lindsey Graham is going to work every day to undermine the Trump agenda. It's absurd. And look, it's so much Trump's even talking about him publicly. Like he went on to Truth Social and publicly rebuked Lindsey's budget bill last week.
Yes.
Okay. By name, he named Lindsey Graham. It's like, yeah, we don't need that. That's a bad bill. We need the House bill. And so Trump is aware. Trump knows that Lindsey Graham is a bad actor.
Yes.
And so it's important that everybody get on board with Mark Lynch, Lynch for Senate, FORSenate.com. And we got to get those tax cuts in because look, Donald Trump's working for the golden age. He's working to get past the dark ages of Biden and Kamala Harris. Okay. Heels up. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the hair sniffer, child groper, pants pooper in chief. Yes. That was a dark era. That's a really dark time, you know? And so, imagine if we had another 4 years of that. I know you see it out there, Mike. You talk to a lot of people. Folks are ready to get America back on track again, ready to get back to business again, ready to start working again, making investments and working to make those investments, pay off for their families and for America. Now everybody breathed this big collective sigh of relief. Thank God we got rid of these freaks in charge. Now we can get back to work.
Well, and you really hit the nail on the head right there because that is the growing mentality and not just among Trump voters. It's people in the middle. And that's part of why our media is so apoplectic right now is that Trump's popularity continues to grow no matter how much mud they sling or how now all of a sudden, they weren't concerned about Bidenflation for 4 years. They weren't concerned about any of this. And now all of a sudden that's the top thing on their radar is inflation and jobs now that Trump's in office. And it's nothing more than an attempt to change the narrative once again and sabotage President Trump. And you can thank, again, people like Lindsey Graham. I mean, here's another, I don't think Graham voted against any of Trump's nominees, correct?
So we know for a fact that he was thinking about it, but we also know for a fact that Nicole Shanahan's uber mega viral video that she did, where she said, "I'll spend $1 billion against you freaks and losers if you oppose these folks like RFK," scared them straight. And so Lindsey, of course,
I don't know if you can scare Lindsey Graham straight, but that's a whole nother story.
Make America straight again. We will make America straight again.
Well, this is, I guess, exactly my point. Is Lindsey Graham, I think the only reason he didn't vote against any of these is because he knows he's going to be in a serious political battle between Shanahan and many others that have said that they're going to get out there and support real conservative America First nominees. I think a lot of them see the writing on the wall with even with Lindy Lee leaving the Democrat Party. Again, I don't expect her to be like a giant ally to conservatives, but just the fact that she's not going to be out there raising, what was it she got in this last election, $800 and some odd $1 million into the DNC. I know it's a crazy number between their super PACs.
Yeah, I know. No, it's insane. And how much of that came from Ukraine, by the way?
How much of it was just bounce back? Payoffs. But I think Lindsey knows where the American people are right now. And he knows his days are numbered. He's got to put on the mask for a little while, but at the same time, he can't betray his real constituency. He's got to keep funneling money to the war machine. He's got to keep sabotaging conservatives with this bad budget bills and by not forwarding Trump's agenda. And that's all he's got. But he's got to do it with a smile on, and he's going to have to vote for some of these nominees that I'm sure he doesn't want. I'm sure he's concerned about many of these documents that are coming out over the next week or so.
Yeah, I mean, look, I keep hearing talk about jail for some of these guys. We'll see. And so look, the problem with a guy like Lindsey Graham is if he's there, it's very unlikely wherever he's in judice. Remember, it's good. He's a major impediment to getting actual justice. And there's folks running out there saying the word retribution. You know, retribution is accurate. It's apt. That word is 100%, appropriate, I believe. But it's not. It has a connotation of somehow being vengeful. It's not vengeful. It's called consequences.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it's really important that we have to keep our eye on the ball here in 2025. We don't have a huge time window, Mike. We've got to, look, there's going to be a big effort to sort of move everybody's eyes away from the idea of getting actual accountability, actual justice for these bad actors who, in many cases, are actual traitors. Traitors per U.S. code. They are traitors. Okay. Vindman and on. Milley, Milley should have to come back to active duty so that he can be brought up with court-martial charges in a court-martial trial. And so there's many such cases of bad actors in government who need to be treated in that way. And we really have to keep our eye on the ball and stay laser focused and forget about a lot of the noise and make sure that we drill down. And it's not just another round of strongly worded letters from guys like Jim Jordan, okay, and shaking elbows in front of the cameras at a congressional hearing. No, but that there are charges brought. There are indictments. There are trials. There hopefully military tribunals. Okay. Nuremberg 2.0. That's what needs to happen so that the American people lost a ton of faith in the institution of government. And we're starting to get it back. Okay. But Trump's only been there for 30 days, right there. So far, it's all executive orders. The Congress has to codify much of this change with penalties. Okay. The judiciary and the DOJ, the executive branch, has to go after and charge these criminals with criminal penalties for their crimes in order for government to be deemed like a successful working system once again, so that the people may give consent of the governed. See, the people in charge knew that they were dangerously close, Mike, to losing the consent of the governed. And that's why we got Donald Trump. They allowed him, man, in my opinion, look, he won. And obviously he had way more popularity and support than, Heels Up and the pants pooper in chief. But also the bad guys were aware that hey, we can't do this 15 million vote thing again. And so they didn't. And so, we won by however many votes, 4 million, 5 million votes. Okay. So, but now we've got work to do. Now we've got to finish cleaning house. You can't just say, oh, we won, and do like we did in 2016 and say, trust the plan, sit in your hands. Remember Big Red Wave. Oh, the Big Red Wave didn't happen in 2022 after we lost 2020. That didn't happen. That plan didn't work. I'm not trusting that plan. Okay, now's the time to go and govern. And Lindsey Graham's in the way.
Yeah, no, agreed. And I think right now there's a clear opportunity for major change, especially when you look at the speed that the Trump administration is moving forward. I agree that Congress needs to codify these changes into law. It needs to be permanent. I'm willing to give Trump a little bit of wiggle room on some of these things to get them done. I do think they have a plan. It's obviously been very coherent. And I'm willing to give them a little bit of rope, but at the same time, we do need to stay on them and everyone else. Let's go ahead and jump to some of these other stories, because here's our latest media meltdown. Well, maybe not even the latest. It's hard to keep up with which one's the latest anymore. Musk warns federal workers return to office or be placed on leave. And again, we've talked about this numerous times. If you were in any other position, even if you were sent home for a little while for COVID, you're back to work just due to the drop in productivity, if nothing else. We've talked about the GAO and oh man, I just blanked on the other government accountability group that's done the studies, where we've seen 20 to 40% decrease in productivity from federal employees across most agencies. I do realize that there are one or two that have been able to maintain their normal productivity. And you know what? If you're somebody where the agency was run right like that, then maybe we can talk about further down the line whether or not some of your employees can continue to work from home. But the rest of you, they were utter failures. A 20 to 40% drop in productivity is completely unacceptable. All we're asking people to do is go back to work like everybody else, but it's also because we know we can't trust these people. This is where the leaks came through during the last Trump administration. They've been on numerous calls talking about how they're going to stop Trump's agenda, stymie things, slow walk them. So these people are in need of babysitters. They need to return back to the office, and those that can't, well, sorry, you can't do your job. One of the requirements is to be here at the office just like you were 4 years ago. Am I wrong about any of that, Noel?
That's all spot on. And by the way, the District of Criminals is at this point a literal just entire. They're all fraudsters. I'd say like 80% of the federal workforce inside of the Metro DC region are literally guilty of fraud. You know, when they, by virtue of doing or not doing what they're supposed to be doing for their job every day. The entire town now has turned in to this sort of like series of like adult Disneyland nodes. Okay. And case in point is CPAC, where they have the Gaylord National. It's all of these feds are sitting at home, going shopping at luxury stores with federal taxpayer dollars while they're not working. They're going shopping, or they're at the Wharf, which is the new Southwest waterfront. It's like a $3 billion, $4 billion development with just, again, adult playground stuff, concert series, super fancy restaurants. The whole town, that's all it is. Go out to Tyson's Corner. Go out to Chevy Bethesda. Up in town now, where the old convention center used to be, is just another just high dollar near K Street. Several $1 billion of investment, and Jimmy Choo shoes, and on and on and on. The place is absurd. Okay. All of those taxpayer dollars need to be, I think, maybe expropriated. Sell all the Jimmy Choo shoes back from all these ladies working in these federal jobs, and send a rebate back to the taxpayer from the Jimmy Choo shoes that you sold back on eBay or whatever. It's insane, Mike.
Well, yeah, no, I just saw, I saw two stories over the weekend I meant to grab, and I just can't believe I forgot to get both of these. But one of them was our media now. Some of the outlets are starting to blame this spike in homelessness that we're seeing on government layoffs. That somehow, if you were laid off 2 weeks ago, you've gone from living in your luxury apartment in D.C. to the dumpster behind 5th Street, and we're supposed to believe this. The other one, man, I'm looking for this right now because I don't know if you've seen this Data Republican, hat tip off to her. She's built an incredible website where you can go through where all this funding is getting routed to. But something else that she came up with over the weekend was the number of federal employees that have become millionaires over the last decade or so. And how, this used to be a small percentage of federal employees because there were some that maybe had family wealth, or prior to that, they were in, normal industry. They'd built up a career for themselves. And these are probably, your true public servants, like the gentleman we spoke about on Friday that's now running the Social Security Administration. Seems like he's the kind of person you want in federal government. Somebody that is there, that is their mission in life, is to serve the American people. He was a hawk against waste, fraud, and abuse. And this is the kind of person we want. Because, I don't want to say all federal employees are bad, but it seems to be the majority. But she had talked about the incredible number that have become millionaires, and a lot of this, she believes, is through money that's been funneled through various government agencies to NGOs that they sit on the board of, or they're affiliated with somehow, and they're basically lining their own pockets in DC with our tax dollars. And that kind of brings me to the second part of Elon Musk's requests over the weekend, or demand, and why the media is just beside themselves. Musk used the "what did you get done last week" tactic at Twitter. So on Saturday, Musk sent out an email to almost all federal employees. A few institutions were excluded from this, some like direct law enforcement at the FBI and the U.S. Marshal Service. But otherwise, you just have to name what 5 things did you accomplish last week. I mean, if you're in any private industry, This is normal. You have goals you have to hit, you have objectives, and whoever your direct supervisor is, they're going to want to know what you accomplished, or if you failed to accomplish something, do you have a reasonable excuse as to why that wasn't done? Did you run into problems that were beyond your control? So even just this basic function, wanting to know what did you do last week, is too much for these weenies in Washington, and it's unacceptable.
Well, yeah, I want to know what Lindsey Graham did last week, apart from trips to various concubines. Concubine sounds female though, so maybe that's not the right word.
Massage parlors, the bathhouses of DC.
Escort. I don't. Is escort a better word? Or male? Are they female? I don't know. They're escorts. Anyway, look. The place is decadent. It's absurd. Like a decade or two.
Houses of ill repute.
Yeah, right. There you go. When the movie Hunger Games came out, Mike, everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, that's horrendous. I hope it never gets like that." And then like 10 years later, we're there. That's how it is.
Yeah.
That's what happens. Life comes at you fast, right? And so, hopefully we get to put this thing in fast rewind as well and get rid of all these freaks, okay, that are running the capital city, okay, just like in the movie The Hunger Games.
Yes.
And send them packing. And that has to include folks like Lisa Murkowski and Lindsey Graham. And speaking of like how degenerate these freaks are, there's a big issue that really nobody's covering, Mike. Thursday so now 2 Thursdays ago, the 13th, I believe, was the date. A judge in Maryland, of course, which is inside of basically the District of Criminals. Brendan Herson is his name. Decided he wanted to overturn the executive order that was instituted by President Trump on maybe January 28 or so. The first week, within a week or so, Trump issued an executive order banning child genital mutilation. Doctors can't cut off the organs, sex organs of boys or girls who are minors, and he defunded it all from the executive order, in the White House, and it didn't take but 2 weeks for some freak judge called Brendan Herson to go ahead and try to overturn that. Now we haven't heard. I assume the DOJ is going to appeal that ruling overturning that EO. I haven't heard that yet. I'm really hopeful that that'll happen ASAP. But there's a connection. There's a connection here, and here's the connection. That's Herson is a Biden appointee, and he was confirmed by the Senate. So Senate confirmed judgeship, and that was in 2023. I think May of 2023. There were three. It was a party line vote, and the Democrats didn't even need these extra Republican votes, but they got Republican votes, 3 of them from 3 Republican ladies.
I figured Lindsey Graham was going to be involved in it.
Yeah. Well, the 3 ladies, wait for it. The 3 ladies are Lisa Murkowski in Alaska, Susan Collins in Maine, and Lady G.
Oh, of course.
So Lady G is the third lady.
Yes. And here I screwed up your setup for the joke.
It's all good.
Well, unfortunately, we got to go take another quick break, and then we'll be right back with the Epstein list.
Have a new product or idea, whether it's already in production or just a concept. Whether you're an individual, a small business, or a medium-sized company, our upcoming show on Patriot TV is here to showcase it to millions and launch it in a big way. We're looking for businesses like yours to feature your product on our new show and pitch it to over 6 million followers, eager to support like-minded businesses. Whether it's a single product or a new product line, we have a platform to skyrocket sales. With powerful Patriot TV ads, targeted direct mail, and the influence of our dynamic show hosts, your product will get the attention it deserves. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Email us now at advertise@patriot.tv to secure your spot and watch your sales take off.
I couldn't give anything a higher endorsement.
I would be remiss had I not include Cardio Miracle on my very short list of secrets.
It's the real deal. It's a real product. It's not another supplement.
I'm operating about 6 to 8 hours, and I've noticed that being on this Cardio Miracle has made a huge difference.
Since I started taking Cardio Miracle, about 8 months into it, the benefits have been fantastic.
You know, if I get hungry, then I just have a Cardio Miracle.
Not only is it safe, but it's necessary to take Cardio Miracle to stay well.
This let me sleep. It's filling up more energy, more get up and go, and it's all because of what this company does.
For me as a doctor, Cardio Miracle is a staple.
Cardio Miracle to me is hope in a glass.
To try Cardio Miracle for yourself and get a special fan discount, go to the host page right now and click the link for Cardio Miracle.
Thank you for staying with us. And again, the best way to support our program and all the programs on Patriot TV is by supporting our sponsors. Give Cardio Miracle a shot. Right now, they're offering a substantial discount on a 2-month supply. You can go to patriot.tv, select the Insurrection. Below that, you should see a link to Cardio Miracle. It should input our code, Insurrection, automatically for you. And I've been using it for the last several weeks. I've noticed a huge difference in my energy level. I'm not having to drink nearly as much coffee or espresso as I usually do. I'm sure my heart thanks me. And I've made it part of my morning routine and again in the afternoon. So again, it's time to make America healthy again. And this is a great way to do that and support the kind of conservative content that you want to see. Well, let's go ahead and pull the Epstein story, because this is where everybody's eyes are on. Kash Patel's promised these documents were coming out. Yeah, I've even heard it rumored to be on his first day at the FBI headquarters, which is today. Even though he was sworn in last week, today is his first official day as director of the FBI. Transparency is coming. They don't want anyone to know who was on Epstein's island, who was a pedo, and who is probably still sitting in D.C. Alina Habba on upcoming Epstein Island documents release. And as we heard last week, I think on Friday, the Epstein files are now sitting on Pam Bondi's desk, and she is considering who needs charges.
Mike, I gotta say this. I'm not very confident in Pam Bondi, sadly. She's already indicated publicly that basically there's not much difference between what's on her desk and what's been out there publicly heretofore. So I think what you're seeing is a little bit of a limited hangout, and that's a phrase that everybody in the audience should understand. Yes. When something bad happens, basically, so let's pretend your family had a little scandal. Let's pretend, one of your siblings or cousins, maybe had a child out of wedlock or something, or maybe somebody in the cousin or whoever had uncle, brother, who knows, an addiction issue of some sort. You have an official story that is for public consumption that is a little bit cleaner and more sanitized, and it might have some element of the truth to it, but it certainly does not have all of the elements of all of the truth to it. And of course, that's your prerogative as a family person. But with government, it ought not be, right? Government got to give us the whole truth. We need sunlight. Well, Government has been doing these limited hangouts on us all the time. They do this all the time. The practitioners inside the government actually use this as a weapon, as a tool of deception. And we see it all the time. In fact, almost all of your news every day is a limited hangout. Fact. Take it to the bank. That's the truth. And so now, and has been with the Epstein story, drip, 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 pieces. I mean, there's so much of the, go on way back to, you got the Anthony Weiner laptop. Nobody's talking about that anymore. Because in fact, Hillary's old girlfriend now just gets married to a Soros, and voila, the whole thing disappears. That's how this stuff works. They'll wait you out. They'll use the calendar. They'll use the clock. It's the old Dean Smith 4 corners rule in basketball before they came up with the shot clock. So no, you couldn't cheat the game anymore. And that's what they do. They just run out the clock and they win. And sadly, we don't have a shot clock. So yeah, well, I don't know what you think on this one, Mike. You and I didn't get to talk about this offline, but should all those PDFs go to jail? Yeah, the PDFs should go to jail. No question about it. And that's too kind, in fact.
Well, I'm not so sure we won't see some kind of charges, just because, again, this is another weapon, a tool that Trump has at his disposal to clean out a lot of these people, or at least make life miserable for them once this list is released. And I think if they release all the documents to the American people, they actually get eyes on this, there's going to be a demand for justice. And this is, again, another way that Trump can boost his own popularity with the American people by demanding the same. So why not use that tool and leverage that to get things done, especially when we're seeing things like Lindsey Graham and others in the Senate already trying to sabotage Trump's agenda. Why not why not use this, if nothing else, as a way to put some immense pressure on them as they're having to fight these battles in criminal court?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. There's a lot of opportunity here. No question at all. Hopefully they'll make examples out of at least a handful of these folks, the total freak, deviant, degenerates. Hopefully that's what we'll see. I'm not holding my breath, Mike. That's me. Call me a cynic.
Yeah,
but
I think a lot of
I'd love to
people
see it.
are, based on what we've seen over the last 4 years. But then I'm also looking at what we've seen over the last few months since Trump's come into office, and that has been a different way of doing things. And again, if I'm looking at it from his perspective, I mean, I would lean on this 100%, especially if, as we all suspect, Trump's not on any of these lists, and nobody else that's integral to his administration is. Even if we lose a few Republicans, small R rhino Republicans, that's worth it if we can take out a lot of the Democrat leadership, or again, make life extremely miserable, and also for their fundraisers for people like Bill Gates. If all of a sudden his reputation is toast because they have, they're released how many times he went out to Pedophile Island. Supposedly they have all these videos of other horrible things that were done on tape that were collected off the island. Why not start pursuing criminal charges and give the American people what they want, and open a path, and a much easier path for you to push your agenda through?
Look, I'm all for it. Yes. Use it to the fullest extent possible. We also have the P. Diddy thing going on at present.
Yes.
In parallel, I suppose, ostensibly that should be happening as well. I think that there are a lot of things that the DOJ could be doing like right now, Mike. And I'm not confident in Bondi. Because I know how Florida works, and she was basically in charge in Florida there of the bar, as AG. And if past is prologue here, my prediction is Bondi is not going to deliver, but she's nice to look at on TV, and that's going to fool a lot of viewers.
Well, maybe you're right, but yeah, again, I don't see Trump taking a tool that would be this effective off the table and just saying, going with the normal protocol in Washington. Maybe, but again, they've hyped it up throughout the campaign. They've kept leaning on it. Now, I do think the Diddy list may be a little different because some of those are still an open investigation. That is more recent. So getting all that released is a bigger ask. But the Epstein, they've literally sat on it for years now. There's no reason, if previous administrations weren't going to pursue charges and the clock hasn't run out on these, then there's no reason to pursue it now. And again, eliminate a lot of, because it's also going to be going after whoever kept this thing under wraps or refused to move forward with prosecution, were deals made or other things leveraged, and expose all that. If you're going to bring the sunshine in, you might as well bring it all in. We're almost out of time, so I do want to get to a couple other stories before we go. And one of those is the, again, I said a minute ago, I wasn't sure what the latest hand-wringing was for the media. FBI freak out as Dan Bongino named deputy director. And again, they're trying to cast this guy as just a podcaster. They're trying to ignore that he was in the Secret Service, that he did presidential protection for Barack Obama and others, that this guy was a career agent, and he's somebody that's been out there sounding the alarms. And I think that's more what really scares them than anything else.
Again, Dan Bongino is, he has an interesting career. He came up through politics after he got out of the Secret Service, ran for office in Maryland, and then he ran for office in Florida. And then he got involved in the podcasting game. And they sort of fast tracked him to the top of the conservative media there. I will say he has, as of late, been spitting some pretty good game in his show. I would look. I want the DOJ and the FBI to go just as hard at those Republicans as they do the Democrats, man. I think that actually cements a long-term Republican majority. If half the country sees the DOJ and Bondi kind of put on kids' gloves for the Republicans, and Cash and Bondi and now Bongina are go easy on the Republicans, it's going to be bad for us, and we're going to potentially slip and maybe have to hand back over the reins here in the not too distant future. They all need to go pedal to the metal. I don't care who it shows that is a bad actor, who's doing the international drug trafficking, who's doing the international, child and sex slave trafficking, labor trafficking, human trafficking. I don't care who's doing it. And by the way, we know in many cases that it's big funders to Republicans, guys.
Yes.
Okay. Bongina. Okay. Cash. Okay. Bondi. It's Ed Gillespie. Okay. It's Ed Gillespie who defended Tyson's Foods when they were trafficking humans into the United States. Okay. For the Republican Party and to bring amnesty. It's guys like Lindsey Graham inside of the federal legislature who are the bag men for the human trafficking, for the flooding of America's shores here. Okay. And our borders with all of these fentanyl-laced drugs, with all of these coyotes, with all of these violent cartel members. Okay. It's the Republican Party too, guys. So pedal to the metal. If it's a Republican that has to go to jail, so be it.
Oh, agreed. And yeah, I think you're exactly right. If it appears that the Trump administration is treating Republicans with kid gloves and going full force against the Democrats, that's not what we asked for. We want real justice, and it's very obvious, I think, to most of the American people that this has been a uniparty operation for decades, and there are people on both sides of the aisle that need to go to jail. And at the very least, we need real investigations and to get the truth out on a lot of these. Because this is the other thing I keep going back to is we do need to temper our expectations on some things, because there's some of this, especially when it comes to the money laundering, where what they did isn't technically illegal. They utilized the law. It's extremely unethical, but what they did technically meets the law. But exposing that too, and then offering solutions to fix it going forward, if that's the best we got, that's what we have to put forward. I got one last story because we are almost out of time that I have to get to. Well, High Priestess of the Blue-Haired Moonbats and extreme racist Joy Reid appears to be out at MSNBC. They canceled the Reid out. I guess later this week will be her last episode to get to hear. We're going to probably get her best, most unhinged conspiracy theories today and tomorrow. I can't remember if they said tomorrow or Wednesday is her last day, but be ready for it, guys. I'm sure we'll have some great clips from Joy Reid tomorrow.
Everybody pour one out. Everybody got your 40? You got your 40s? Pour one out for homegirl Joy. Oh, I'm so sad. Joy. Oh, where she's now unemployed too. She's one of the homeless.
Oh no,
she's one of the homeless that she mentioned.
She's going to be one of the homeless in New York. Wow. I guess. All right, guys. I'm going to be charitable. Somebody needs to send her a tent and a sleeping bag. We don't want life to be too hard for her. We don't want our enemies to suffer unnecessarily.
Pass the plate. Pass the plate.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't go that far. I mean, she might spend it on drugs. So I'm not entirely convinced that's not an option. But a tent and a sleeping bag, maybe some bottled water. We don't want her to die and starve out on the street now that she's been forced out, and after getting paid millions a year, going to end up homeless. But whatever. Any last words of wisdom you'd like to leave our audience with?
We got to dump Lindsey Graham. I forgot to get my hat. Next time I'm on mic, I'm going to bring the dump Lindsey hat, okay? This guy, he called him, I got the quote wrong earlier. Donald Trump is a race-baiting, xenophobic bigot. That's what he said. That's what he called Donald Trump. He hates Trump supporters, too. He says, I don't know who you are or why you like him. I want to talk to the Trump supporters for a second. That's Lindsey Graham. The guy is, he's gayer than a football bat, Mike.
Than a football bat. Well, Noel, thank you for joining us today. We'll definitely get you back here soon. Send me one of those hats. I'll start wearing it every day on here. I think our audience already knows I'm a gun owner for Trump, so time to change the message up a little bit. To our audience, please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. I'll be back tomorrow with even more.